From the early days of film, from Chaplin to movies like Birth of the Nation, to horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or movies that won Oscars similar to Last Tango in Paris, to porn films, Deep Throat, to music. We've seen throughout our history, we have a bit of a problem, a moral problem in the United States. And the situation is that you have those out there that want to control what you watch, what you deem music, video games, animation, comic books. They want to control all of that. And they would put fear-mongering out there. Now, I can understand there are some stuff that's questionable out there, and obviously it is, but we got to take it each individual in itself. I remember, people used to complain about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and said, oh, it was bloody as hell. And so, go watch the movie. And I'll tell you, the newer versions are more intense. I mean, there are some films today that are just way over the top and bloody, which is, for a horror film fan like my wife is, she loves that stuff. It's not that she's insane or mentally unstable, is that she likes to be entertained. Like myself, she works hard. She wants to sit back and enjoy something. And one thing she loves the horror film genre. As much as I like the science fiction, fantasy, and anime and manga stuff. And, you have those out there who want to censor comedy. And, we hear this, stuff from comedians today, like Dave Chappelle, for example, that they're trying to censor out there. But, if you go back in history, we fought this fight before. If you remember Lenny Bruce or George Carlin, who went to jail for this. And you had porn directors, producers, movie theater owners who have gone to jail because what they showed in the theater was deemed obscene. But who deems it to be obscene? Because it's just there are a small group of people that says, well, I don't like it. I don't want anyone else to see it. But they have the right to ban it and tell you what to watch and not to watch? Which today brings us to Oklahoma. Now, understand, we are still waiting to hear from the ruling of the Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton case in the Supreme Court, which hopefully it will knock off age assurance laws. And I call it's no longer age verification. I'm telling you right now, they're flipping it because already other countries are calling it age assurance. If you watched my BBC video, that now the United Kingdom wants to start charging Netflix, that people to watch Netflix on top of the fees that they pay Netflix because they're losing money on licensing. How they're going to do that? Age assurance. That's how they're going to do it. But now we have a senator out of Oklahoma, Dusty Deevers. He's introduced a bill that would criminalize adult content and send people back to going back to imprisonment.
Pornography is defiling, and it's corrosive, it's domineering, and it's absolutely destroying our culture.
This is Oklahoma State Senator Dusty Deevers, and the guy hates porn so much he's introduced a bill that would criminalize creating it, distributing it, and even watching it. And lumped into that is sexting as well. Unless it's between a married couple, they can sext as much as they want. This is Deevers' long list of what he considers unlawful pornography. Sure knows a lot of different types of porn. Under the bill, anyone involved in filming, photographing, distributing, or watching could face a maximum fine of $25,000 and imprisonment of up to 20 years. But all of this is laughable when you get to the fact that Deevers is a pastor of a church affiliated with the Southern Baptist Convention, which has faced hundreds of sexual abuse allegations. In 2019, an investigation by the Houston Chronicle and San Antonio Express News uncovered more than 700 survivors of sexual abuse by SBC leaders over 20 years. And those are just the ones we know about. And
He's threatening to imprison, which violates our free speech. That's correct. It violates the Constitution. But this doesn't stop these people from these rhinos. You know, like if you watch the RFK Jr.'s hearings on his appointment, you know, the confirmation hearings, you know, you hear all these rhinos saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but they don't put it in proof. And, they don't have an answer when you ask them questions to this nature. Like I question, what do you consider adult content? But we're going to read this from XBiz. Jeff Dana wrote the article. Oklahoma State Senator introduces bill to criminalize all porn and jail creators. Oklahoma Senator Dusty Deevers has introduced a bill that will criminalize all adult content and authorize the state to imprison those who create it or view it. That means if you watch it, they could come knocking down on your door.
FBI, open up!
And arrest you. Under SB 593, which Deevers has said it will restore moral sanity to Oklahoma, anyone who produces, distributes, or even possesses porn in Oklahoma will face up to 10 years in prison. Pornography is both degenerate material and a highly addictive drug. There is no findings, no scientific findings that says this. Deevers said in a statement announcing the bills. It ruins marriages, ruins lives, destroys innocence, warps young people's minds, perception of the opposite sex, turns women into objects, turns men into objects, degrades human dignity, and corrodes the moral fabric of society. There is nothing out there that proves this. Nothing at all. Any decent society will stand against this plague with the full weight of the law. Understand this before we go any further on this article. Pornography has been around since cavemen writing on the walls. I mean, are you going to sit there and take paintings down? Are you going to sit there and take statuettes down that are in museums? Remember that Simpsons episode where Marge was trying to shut down Itchy and Scratchy, and then they came to her and says, let's, take down art statues because it's very obscene. And she refused and realized that what Itchy and Scratchy was doing was okay because, if people want to ban Itchy and Scratchy and ban historical art, that's a problem. Reading on, in addition to serving the state legislature, Deevers is a pastor at Grace Reformed Baptist Church, of course, in Elgin, Oklahoma. He unsuccessfully proposed a similar legislation last year. Why? Because it was unconstitutional. Oklahoma has a age assurance law on the books, which led to Pornhub to block access in the state. It's called a VPN, folks. The fate of that law may be decided when the Supreme Court rules in Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton, the pending case challenging the Texas controversial age verification law, HB 1181. However, a total ban such as Deevers proposed would challenge a long-establishing jurisprudence recognizing adult content as protected speech under the First Amendment. Remember what I just said. However, a total ban, such as Deevers proposes, would challenge a long-established jurisprudence recognizing adult content as protected speech under the First Amendment. Industry attorney Corey Silverstein called the bill blatantly unconstitutional. Oklahoma SB 593 is one of the most ridiculous proposed anti-pornographic laws that I've ever seen, he told XBiz. It appears that Senator Deevers is more interested in making news headlines and trying to keep his conservative constituents happy than creating legislation that would survive a constitutional challenge. Mike Stable, director of the policy at the Free Speech Coalition, also scoffed at the profound overreach of Deevers' proposed legislation. Just to make this incredibly clear, under Senator Deevers' bill, you could go to jail for a year for having an old copy of Playboy, said Stable. Senator Deevers is welcome to choose what books he might read and what movies he might see. He does not have the right to inspect bookshelves and phones of Oklahomans for legal material he finds morally objectionable. Stable added that the bill is unfortunately not an anomaly. Politicians on the right have been quite explicit about the desires to ban sexual content. It's not all on the right. It's a little bit of both on left and right, and it's mostly the radicals, even when it's privately viewed by adults in their own homes, said Stable. Over the past years, we've seen a light discuss of age assurance bills used to effectively ban access to adult content in many southern states. We're seeing loud calls for the new administration to use the Department of Justice to arrest alleged pornographers, designated and increased applied to not just adult content creators, but writers, artists, and educators. Porn is the canary in the coal mine of free speech, and the trial balloon used by governments to pass laws that can censor speech more broadly. No matter how people feel about adult content, we should all be concerned about the proposed government crackdown on speech. Deevers' attack on the adult industry is an overt and blatantly than ever anything yet seen at the federal level during the 2024 election campaign. The Conservative Heritage Foundation Project 2025 Policy Blueprint. Mandate for leadership, including a call to criminalize all adult content, asserting that pornography has no claim to First Amendment protection. Pornography should be outlawed, the document states. The people who produce and distribute it should be in prison. President Trump eventually tried to distance himself from Project 2025, which he still is, but since has appointed Brendan Carr, who contributed the policy document as the chair of the FCC. Brendan Carr, you have to remember one thing about these groups. Someone writes an article, they're going to grab that and they're going to put up the crib notes to that situation. Yeah, Brendan Carr did give something to Project 25, and of course, Project 2025 edited. Doesn't stop anyone else on that. Doesn't mean he's part of Project 2025. Understand that from this point, from this writer's point of view to that situation, unless you have some other evidence that you could point to me. Understand that. Carr's going out there, this is not a defense of Carr, but he's going out there to slam on situations on the FCC. Because there's a lot of fat and a lot of bullshit in the Federal Communications Agency. But the other half of this is that they want to jail those who are creators, writers, artists, educators, actors, actresses, and this is something that's Orwellian in itself. We've been through this before in the 60s, actually going from the 30s straight on to about the 60s and 70s, because you've had situations where movie theaters have been shut down, owners have been arrested. You had Harry Reams, who worked on Deep Throat. Basically, he was arrested. The theaters putting out the movie were also arrested. You had comedians like Lenny Bruce, obviously I said this before, and George Carlin been arrested because of some of the things they have said in the past. More recently, and this is the same groups that put this out, the NOSC, which is Morality Media, went after Cosmopolitan and Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, removing them from the front counters of Walmart. Why? They considered it pornography. Do you consider women in bathing suits pornography? Do you consider Cosmopolitan, a magazine made for women, that discuss women's issues, women's rights, women, stuff that problems that women go through, you consider that pornography? And I continue to ask this. Adult content. What do you consider adult content? What do you consider porn? Because we can go through a list of films that are from PG straight through R to NC-17 that would be banned in the United States if a law like this was ever pushed out. And I'm not talking stuff that basically you would see on Skinamax. I'm talking from Academy Award-winning directors. Last Tango in Paris, as much as it's a controversial Last Tango in Paris is, but it is a classic film, would be in this ban. Movies from Brian De Palma would be in this ban. Pretty much practically every horror film would be in this ban. And you'll say, well, how can that be? Because the problem is not one person would have the same opinion of what obscenity, what moral values are, what is pornography, are the same.
He's right. Do you know that?
If you've watched my Otaku Thursday show, we've discussed similar to this, talking about how much that the media and how Visa, MasterCard, they're trying to call anime and manga CP because of some of the characters that they had, which, pointing to the Vice News article, which they went to a convention and in Japan, and they started clicking pictures that they themselves deemed explicit, where there was like I forgot what series it was. I think it was Miss Dragon. That basically there was one of the younger characters, and she's wearing a two-piece outfit on a bikini, because the episode was on the beach. They were calling it CP. Wearing a bikini two-piece is CP? Because they went after everything they could. They went into the stores. They went, they tried to, they blocked it out. We can't show you this, but it's there. And that's what they told you. It's right there. You look at it. We can't really show it to you on our channel because we will be in trouble situation. But let me tell you something. The stuff that you showed, if it was illegal, and they said, well, there are laws in the United States that say you can't do this, which is not true, because Vice would have been in trouble for showing those posters at that convention. They would have been arrested. See, this is the thing that's happened. This is why I say we're in a Hays Code 2.0 era. Slowly you've been seeing in the last decade or so how Hollywood has changed their parameters. That basically they've sat there, and this is why I tell you the MPAA needs to go away. Because they're sitting there telling people you have to hire this certain amount of minorities in jail, which violates the law. You cannot, there are laws on the books that says race, creed, color, sexuality, handicap. You can't take that in perspective to when you hire somebody. You're hiring someone for their merits, their abilities, their expertise to the situation, what they bring to the table to these companies. You understand that? This is the things that happen to that point. But now they want to bring back an era in history that will tell you, excuse me, I need to look at your phone, your computer, your video library to make sure you don't have anything objectable. That basically that it's immoral, obscene. This is not going to pass. This is not going to happen. Well, at least not on my watch. I'm going to continue reporting this every time it comes up. I'm going to put out, people like this, like Senator Dusty Deevers. Those of you in Oklahoma, contact your senator. Tell them you do not want this. This is not part of our Constitution. It doesn't matter if you like it or dislike it, if you don't approve of it. It basically has a place in our society. No matter what you think of it. This is basically stifling artistic expression. Are you going to have people sitting over someone who is doing a piece of artwork or making a movie or a TV show or writing a book? Because that's what they want. That's what they want. And this is from both sides. These are the radicals on both sides. And you know, some of it, and I'll say this, because the radical religious right to the situation is being helped by China. Think about that for a second, because we've already reported here the Mormon Church has befriended the CCP. Because the CCP is trying to change the laws in this country through religion. Remember, it's separation of church and state. And this is coming from someone who is a good Catholic boy. Not perfect. I pray to God. I thank Him for being alive. Thank Him for the family that I have. And thank Him for the abilities that I have in my life. That I'm able to produce, to do these things. Even though my health hasn't been that great in the last decade or so. But I'm still here. And I hope you're still there, because I want you right now to comment. I want you to tell me your thoughts to this situation here. Because, you know, this is unconstitutional. Especially when we have all the noise in the background. It's still unconstitutional. So let me know your thoughts. Even those who live outside our country, because I know there are situations outside our country, like Russia, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, that have pushed censor, and they're trying to control what people see in their homes. So let me know there. And remember, don't forget to like this, because we need to move up in the algorithm. And be sure to share it out there, because this is an important issue people should be talking about. And of course, subscribe, because that will also help us as well. It moves us up. We are well over 1,300 subscribers here on Cuticast TV on YouTube. We're well over 200 on Rumble. So let's keep it up. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.